message that I have for you tonight is called Stop Shrinking. Stop shrinking. Because here's what I know. You cannot shrink into your vision. You cannot shrink into your goals. You cannot shrink into the things that you want to make happen in your life. And so ultimately, if you want to make some extraordinary things happen in your life, it's going to require for you to expand. And so if you're wondering, you're saying, well, Andy, what do you mean about stop shrinking? I'm going to give you some examples of what I believe is shrinking. When you know that you're shrinking in your life, I'm going to give you an example. Shrinking is when you've always had a desire to write a book, but now you have gotten comfortable with just collecting everybody else's book. Ouch. Don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings there, but listen to me carefully. Shrinking is when you know that you should write your book, you've had a desire to write your book, and you've gone from wanting to write your book and saying that you're going to write the book, that now you have gotten comfortable with collecting everybody else's book. Let me tell you something else. Shrinking is this. Shrinking is when you said to yourself, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to start my own company. And now you have resorted to working in somebody else's company. That is shrinking. Let me tell you something else. Shrinking is when you say to yourself, listen, I want to become debt-free, but now you have resorted to making minimum payments on multiple credit cards. That is shrinking. Let me tell you something else. Shrinking is when you say to yourself, listen, I really, really have this desire to become married, to have a happy, fulfilling relationship, but now you have become satisfied. You have become satisfied with just being a friends with benefits. Listen carefully now. Shrinking is when you say to yourself, I want to build an empire, but now Empire is your favorite television show. And so I want to speak to that person who has gotten to that place in their life where some things have happened in your life. We're going to be honest. Some things have happened. Life has hit you. Life has thrown some big problems your way. Life has made some things happen. And unfortunately, those things have caused you to shrink. And so what I want to do is I want to be able to push you a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And what I need you to understand is when it comes to your goals, when it comes to your vision, when it comes to you getting to the next level, it is going to require that you not shrink, but rather that you expand. And let me tell you something, life has a way of getting you to shrink. You see, life, as excited as you may be about starting the business, as excited as you may be about getting out of debt, as excited as you may be about having a happy, fulfilling marriage, as excited as you may be about your goals, your visions, and the things that you want to make happen, life has a way of coming around the corner and boom, punching you right in the back of the head and getting you to start shrinking and condensing your goals, your dreams, and your vision. And so what happens is it will happen over time. And oftentimes you won't even realize that you've decided to go ahead and forfeit your goals and your dreams. You won't even realize that you have shrinked in so many ways. And before you know it, you've compromised your goals. You've compromised your dreams. You've compromised your vision. And you've compromised all the things that you want to make happen. And so once again, I'm going to go ahead and paint these little analogies for you because I want you to understand. And so when we say, well, what does it mean to shrink? Shrink is that moment where you say, you know what? I want to write the book. But now, as you look on your bookshelf, you have everybody else's book on your bookshelf except your own. Shrinking, listen carefully, is when you say, I want to become the entrepreneur. And because you didn't act on your dream, you didn't act on your goal, you didn't act on the desire to become an entrepreneur, now you are employed for an entrepreneur. Listen, shrinking is when you say to yourself, I'm going to become debt-free. I'm going to pay off all my debt. I'm going to be debt-free. I'm going to travel the world. And now you've resorted to just making minimum payments on multiple credit cards. Listen one more time. Shrinking is when you say, you know what, one day I'm going to have my own empire. And now the only way empire fits in your life is in the form of a television show. And so what I'm saying to you is this: you cannot shrink into your vision. And so if you're a note taker, or if you want to go ahead and just type this right now, here's what I want you to understand. I want you to put this down. For those of you who are with me right now on live, do me a favor and put hashtag stop shrinking. Hashtag stop shrinking. Because here's what I realize. And it can happen to all of us. And I have to catch myself oftentimes in my own life when I set out with a dream, I set out with a vision, I set out with a goal, and it is met with some form of resistance. I have to be very careful about not reducing the dream and reducing the vision. And let me tell you what inspired this message that I have for you tonight. Over this past weekend, I was listening into a conversation that two people were having. And there was somebody who said that they were working a job, and they were talking to somebody else. And when they were talking to somebody else about the job, they said, I'm working a job right now, but I hate the job. I hate where I'm at. I can't stand this job. And the person that they were talking to said, well, if you hate the job so much, then why don't you leave the job? Why don't you just quit? Why don't you go ahead and start and do something else, something that you really want to do? And so I was listening to this person. Here's what the person said. They said, well, I have student loans. I've got a bunch of student loans. And they said that there's a program that is being offered because this is a government job that I have. And they said, if I'm willing to stick it out for 10 years, then they're going to get rid of my student loans. Now, I want you to realize that I'm sitting here listening to this conversation. I'm like, what? Wait a second. I need you to understand this. This person is having a conversation with somebody and talking about how much they hate their job, that literally they can't stand their job. It's not fulfilling. It's not pulling anything out of them. It's not getting them to take their lives to the next level. And they're telling this other person that they hate their job. The other person said, wait a second, if you hate your job so much, then why don't you leave? And here's what the response is. The response is, well, the reason why I haven't left my job is because if I stick around for 10 years, listen carefully now, 10 years. And so I was just curious. I was like, well, wait a second, you're going to stick around for 10 years so you can get rid of some student loans. So I decided to jump into the conversation. So I said, well, let me ask you a question. How many years have you been at the job right now? And they said they've been there for 3 years already. So that means that they're willing to stick around a job that they hate for another 7 years. And then I was just curious. I said, well, how much are your student loans? And you know what they said? They said, my student loans are $38,000. Now, you have to understand that when I'm listening to this conversation, I don't think this person has any realization about how small of a mindset that they have to have with the way that they've decided. Here's what they've decided, that they're going to go ahead and trade off 7 more years of their life in a job in which they're unsatisfied, in a job in which they're unhappy, so that after 7 years, that hopefully they can get $38,000 of student loan reduced. And that's the same student loan that they have to make payments on anyway. And so what I'm thinking about is, wait a second here. If you hate your job so much, why don't you find something that is fulfilling? Why don't you find something that is more in alignment with what it is that you've been called to do and make enough money so that you can pay off your student loans on yourself, as opposed to staying to a job and connected to a job and hoping that that job is eventually going to get rid of your student loans. Now, listen, I don't think that person realized that the skew and the error in their judgment. And so what I need you to realize is that we do these things every day. You see, we begin to do compromises in our life every single day. Every day, we find little places in our life where we begin to shrink. And we go from having a big vision and a big dream and big desires. And what happens is we encounter some difficulties in life. And what happens is after we encounter those difficulties, guess what ends up happening? We fall short on our goals and our dreams. We stop making some things happen. And so what I need you to understand is this, that you cannot shrink into your purpose. You cannot shrink into your vision. You cannot shrink into your goals. You cannot shrink into the things that you desire in life. As a matter of fact, you have to expand. You got to be able to grow. You got to be able to take yourself to the next level so that you can make some great things happen in your life. And so that's the thing that most of us need to realize. And that's the thing that most of us fail to realize. Now, let me help you to understand something. This is something that one of my mentors shared with me a long time ago. As a matter of fact, do me a quick favor, because what I'm about to share with you right now, I know is going to change somebody's life and get them to completely shift their thinking. Do me a quick favor. Go ahead and hit the share button. Hit the share button right now. Hit the share button, because I know that there's somebody that you're connected to that needs to hear what I'm about to share with you right now, something that a mentor shared with me. So take a quick moment and hit the share button. Now, here's what one of my mentors shared with me, and here's what they said. They said, Andy, here's how life works. And here's what he said to me. He said, Andy, if you are operating in life at a level 7, he said, if you're operating in life at a level 7, and life were to happen to throw at you a level 3 problem, he said that most likely, because you're operating at a level 7, if you were to encounter a level 3 problem, you would probably be able to take care of that problem very quickly, go on about your business and finish out your day without missing a beat. The reason why is because you're operating at a level 7 and life has thrown at you a level 3 problem. But he said, but wait a second here. Here's what I need you to understand. He said, if you are operating at a level 7 and life throws you a level 10 problem, he said, realize this. that when you are operating at a level 7 and life throws you a level 10 problem, if you begin to shrink in your thinking, if you decide to go entirely into your comfort zone, if you start backing down because you're fearful, if you start operating from a place of scarcity, he said that that problem is only going to get bigger. But he said, I need you to understand this. He said, Andy, listen carefully. When you are operating at a level 7 and life throws you a level 10 problem, then what it means is that you have to grow from a level 7 to a level 10 to be able to deal with the problem, to be able to deal with the situation at hand. And so what I learned from him when he was sharing that with me is that as we go through life, regardless of what level you are operating at right now in your life, so whether you want to say you're operating at a level 5, a level 6, a level 7, a level 8, realize this, that when life throws you a problem bigger than the level that you're on, it is an invitation. Listen to me carefully. It is an invitation for you to go to the next level. It is an invitation for you to expand your mindset. It is an invitation for you to do the things that are required to get you to the next level. That is not the time for you to start shrinking. That is not the time for you to retreat into your comfort zone. That is not the time for you to start hiding out. That is not the time for you to start thinking really, really small. And so what the problem is that most of us don't even realize is that life has sort of chipped away and chipped away and chipped away at us. And so we started off with a big dream, and all of a sudden now, listen, the dream starts getting so much smaller. All of a sudden now, we talked about how we wanted to write the book, how we wanted to start the business, how we wanted to have a great marriage, how we wanted to become debt-free, how we wanted to travel the world. We have these big dreams, these big visions, and then life starts throwing us curveballs, and all of a sudden we just reduce it and we say, well, I wanted to travel the world, but now I'm comfortable with just going ahead and leaving my county. I'm comfortable with just leaving my city. You understand what I'm saying? It happens over time. It doesn't happen just right away, but it happens over time. And so sometimes you need somebody who's going to have this conversation with you to get you to stop for a moment and start to examine your life. Listen, Socrates said that an unexamined life is not worth living. Sometimes you got to look at your own life and look at the places in your life and ask yourself the question, where am I shrinking in my life? Where is it that I should be raising the bar? Where is it that I should be stepping myself and stepping the game up to the next level? And where is it that I am literally shrinking in my life? And we have to be intentional about making sure that we're expanding. We got to be very careful about the places in our life that we begin to shrink. Let me tell you, one of the things that my wife and I love to do is every once in a while on the weekend, we'll go ahead and we'll decide that, we'll go check out, we'll go look at what would be considered our dream home, our dream vision. And so we just did this past weekend. We went we went and we looked at a home that was sitting on the intercoastal. And so we're talking about literally the intercoastal right there in the backyard. This was a beautiful home. I believe the asking price was over $5.4 million. I mean, this was a custom home with custom pieces that were flown in. Some pieces were flown in from Italy. There's a straight ocean access, beautiful view, guest home, pool, everything in the back. And part of the reason why we do that is to make sure that we're always holding the vision, because we're not focused on the things that we've accomplished. We're not focused on where we are right now, but we're always trying to hold the vision of where it is that we want to go. And so what happens is, if you're not intentional about expanding your vision, if you're not intentional about not shrinking in life, life will have a way of getting you to shrink. That's why when you think back, you think about that person that was considered most likely to succeed in high school or most likely to succeed, and then you catch up with them 20, 15 years later, and you're saying, what happened? This person was so awesome. This person was so popular. We thought this person was going to be a success. Well, I'll tell you what happened. They began to shrink. And so it can happen to the best of us. And so what I need you to understand is this, that at some point you got to be willing to level up. You got to be willing to step up your game. Somebody go ahead and type that down. Hashtag level up. Hashtag level up. And so what that means is that at all times, you got to be asking yourself the question, what do I need to do to get to the next level? What do I need to do to take my vision to the next level? What do I need to do to take my relationship to the next level? What do I need to do to take my finances to the next level? What do I need to do to take my personal relationship, my spirituality to the next level. You always want to be trying to level up. Why? Because of this. Listen, nobody, absolutely nobody rises to low expectations. I want you to catch this. Listen carefully. Nobody rises to low expectations. And so your life oftentimes is going to be a direct reflection of the expectations that you put on your life. And so one of the great questions that people have asked, and I remember listening into a conversation that was taking place, and it was Oprah Winfrey was having a conversation with somebody, and the great debate was this. They said, are you a product of your environment? And so that's been an ongoing debate for a long time. You know, are people a product of their environment? So if somebody comes from humble beginnings, if somebody comes from a low income neighborhood, if somebody has limited resources, if somebody's in a place where there's a limited opportunity and so forth, is it a pretty much guaranteed shot that they are not going to necessarily have the level of success that they want in their life? So the question becomes is, are people a product of their environment? And so let me tell you the profound thing that I learned. And do me a favor, hit the share button right now. Hit the share button because somebody needs to hear this. And so the question is, are you a product of your environment? And so my answer to that is this. No, you are not a product of your environment. Well, you say, well, Andy, if you're not a product of your environment, then what are you a product of? And I remember listening into this conversation, and there's a gentleman that said something that was so profound. And what he said is that we're not a product of our environment. He said this. He said, we are a product of our expectations. And so what happens is you could put somebody in a horrible environment. You could put somebody in complete poverty. You could take away what's in their bank account. You could surround them with people that you know they're not going to make some things happen. But listen, if they've got some high expectations of themselves in their lives, that they can conquer the situation. They can take their lives to the next level. They can make some great things happen. And so here's what I need you to understand. You are a product of your expectations. And so if you want to take your life to the next level, then what it means is that you got to raise your expectations. Why? Because nobody, listen to me carefully, nobody rises to low expectations. And listen, if you are mentoring kids, or if you're in the presence of children and you have low expectations, chances are that there's nothing significant is going to come out of them. But if you raise the expectations of what you require out of them, if you raise the expectations of what you require from yourself, then all of a sudden life begins to expand. And so what happens is, for most of us, life begins to shrink. Why? Because we lower our expectations over time. And so things don't work out. And so because things don't work out, we say, well, you know, this is not quite the job that I wanted, and I'm not quite happy here. But you know what? I guess I'll deal. I can handle this. You know, you say to yourself, you know what? I'm not, my marriage is not happy, as fulfilling as I want it to be. And instead of putting in the time, the energy to bring your marriage to where you want it to be, you say, you know what? I'll just deal with us feeling like it's just so disconnected and nothing's happening for us, right? And you say to yourself, you know what? Listen, I want to get debt free. I want to make some great things happen. And then you say to yourself, you know what? Life hits you a couple of blindside. You get hit by a couple of things. You eventually say, you know what? I'll just deal with making these little minimum payments on these credit cards. You know, you say to yourself, one day you dreamed about having an empire of your own, having a business and so forth. And now you say, you know what? I'll just settle with sitting down and watching Empire on TV, right? And so at one point you're saying to yourself, man, I want to write the book. And now you're like, you know what? I'll just settle with buying everybody else's book and putting everybody else's book on my bookshelf and not having one book that has a reference to me or has my name on it. And so what I'm saying to you is that life has a way of getting you to shrink. And so what I need you to understand is that periodically you need to disrupt that conversation. You need to disrupt what's going on. And you got to be intentional about literally, listen, holding the vision, right? You got to expand the vision, and you've got to expand the expectations of yourself, expand the expectations of those around you. And if you have people around you that don't expect much of you, then what I'm saying is you are keeping the wrong company. Are you listening to me? You need to surround yourself with people who expect more out of you. You need to surround yourself with people who are getting you to raise the bar. You need to surround yourself with people who intimidate you. You need to surround yourself with people that are making you want to raise the bar. That's what you've got to do, because we've got to raise the expectations. Why? Because listen carefully, absolutely nobody rises to low expectations. I need you to understand this. Your life is a direct reflection of the expectations that you have placed upon your life. And so whatever your life is right now, whatever you've done, it has fulfilled the expectation that you have of your life. And so if you want to create a shift, a change in your life, what it also means is that there needs to be a shift and a change in your expectations. In other words, you've got to expand. You've got to grow. Because if you're operating at a level 7 right now, trust me on this, life is going to hit you with a level 10 problem. And when that level 10 problem comes, you have one of two options. You can either shrink and that level 7 problem, that level 10 problem gets bigger, or you can expand. Every time we get hit with something that is at a higher level, we get hit with a problem that is bigger than the level that we're operating at, it is an invitation. Are you listening? It is an invitation for you to grow. It is an invitation for you to get to the next level. And so listen, I told you that I was going to step on some toes tonight. And the reason why I want to step on your toes is just so that you can start examining your own life. You know, Shakespeare said, "To thy own self be true." Socrates said that an unexamined life is not worth living. Sometimes we got to go ahead and we got to check ourselves. We got to examine ourselves, and we got to look at our own lives and be honest with ourselves and say, wait a second here, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second here, wait a second. Where am I shrinking in my thinking? You know, why is it that I'm trying to make some things happen in my life and I'm condensing what the possibilities are? Listen, I tell you this, one time, one of my cousins, unfortunately, he encountered a difficulty and he had to hire an attorney and he needed to pay his attorney fees. And the crazy thing was, it was time for him to pay his attorney fees, and he came into the room and he walked up, he said, "Andy," he said, "listen, man, do you have an eBay account?" I said, "Yeah, I got an eBay account." Why are you asking? He said, "Listen, man, you know, right now I've got a leave of absence from my job. I got to pay some attorney fees. And man, I'm thinking about selling my MacBook on eBay." And listen, I'm blown away because I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, you're going to sell your MacBook? And the reason why I was so blown away is because you don't understand. I remember seeing my cousin every single day on that MacBook. That was like his prized possession. I mean, he's playing music on that MacBook. He's sending out his text messages. He's hitting all his friends up on social media. You would never find him without his MacBook. And so I couldn't believe that he needed to raise about $600. And the best idea that he could come up with is to sell something that he appreciates and values so much by selling his laptop. And so I had a conversation with him. I said, "Man, listen, man, I don't want to butt into your business. But all I know is every time I see you, man, you love that MacBook. And I'm just trying to think to myself, this is bananas, that all you got to do is you need to come up with $600. And when you go into that brain of yours, the best thing that you can think of is that you need to sell your computer." And I said, "Man, do you know how many other things that you could do so that you can come up with the $600? I mean, you're better off just asking me if there's something that I could give you to do that you could go ahead and earn $600. You could probably get on the phone and call a couple of friends and ask them to borrow money between a couple of people and come up with the $600. But you're about to sell your MacBook so that you can go ahead and make $600. And after you get that $600, what's next?" And so what he didn't realize is that his thinking in the midst of his problem at the moment began to shrink. And so, see, that's one of those things that we don't realize, is that sometimes we begin to shrink in our thinking. You see, sometimes we don't even realize it. We'll be in the midst of our pursuing our goals and our dreams, or we'll be in the midst of dealing with a problem or a situation, and instead of growing and instead of expanding, we began to shrink. And so let me tell you something. I'm so grateful that when I look back and I think about the people that have had the most influence on me in my life, the person that's probably been the most influential in my life is my mom. And I'm so grateful that I got to witness firsthand. I got to see somebody who understood that you are literally, your life is a reflection of your expectations that you place upon yourself. You see, my mom decided that she was going to expand her life. And the reason why I like to use her as an example is because, see, my mom was born in Haiti. My mom literally came to the United States from the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. When my mom came to the United States, she had less than $150 to her name. And so if you think about when you think about what her background was, and you think about what her resources were at the time, $150 to start, she had every reason to not expand. She had every reason to stay small. But I'm so grateful that in spite of her circumstances, in spite of the little $150 that she had, in spite of coming from the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, in spite of the fact that, she told me that her and my grandma at times, they used to sleep on ripped up pieces of cloth. In spite of all that, she understood that if I want to have a fulfilling life, that I got to be willing to expand the vision that I have for my life. And so what I'm saying to you is this. I don't know where you are right now in your life, but what I am saying to you is this, that the only way that you're going to accomplish your goals and your dreams, the only way that you're going to make some great things happen is if you are willing to expand. And the reason why I say that is because one thing that I know for certain is you cannot, listen carefully, you cannot shrink into your vision. You cannot shrink into your goals. You cannot shrink into your greatness. You cannot shrink into those things that you want to make happen in your life. And so I'm challenging you right now to stop shrinking. So go ahead and do it for me one more time, because I believe that when you take action, it rewards you. So do me two favors right now. For those of you, put it on your keyboard right now, because somebody's going to come in on the tail end of this message, and they may just see that hashtag, and that hashtag may be the thing that gets them to stop and think for a moment, or tune in and catch a little bit of this message so that they can create a shift in their life. Go ahead and do it for me right now. Hashtag stop shrinking. Hashtag stop shrinking. Because this is the time right now in your life that you need to stop shrinking. Stop shrinking your goals. Stop shrinking your vision. Stop shrinking the things that you want to have for yourself. I want you to start dreaming big again. I want you, whatever it is that you want to accomplish in your life, whatever it is that you used to set out to, that life is sort of beating up out of you, I want you to pull it back out. I want you to dust it off, and I want you to become seriously serious about making some things happen in your life. I want you to become seriously serious about stop shrinking in your life. I want you to literally start making some amazing things happen in your life, because this is not the time to shrink. This is the time to expand. Do me a favor, hit the share button, because I know somebody else needs to hear this. So if you haven't hit the share button yet, hit the share button, because somebody else that you know actually needs to hear this message. And so I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're trying to figure out what does it mean to shrink, I'm going to give you some examples. And these are extreme examples, but I give you these extreme examples so that you can find where you are at someplace in the middle. The reason why I asked you right now to examine your life is because shrinking is something that happens very subtly. And so you say, well, Andy, what does that look like? Shrinking is when you have this big, lofty vision. You say to yourself, one day, I want to write that book. And now that one day has turned into years, decades, and you still haven't written the book, but you have bought so many other people's books. And so you at one point wanted to write the book, but now you have settled and you've gotten comfortable with buying everybody else's book. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you know there's a book in you, it's time for you to expand and get it out. You see, shrinking is when you say to yourself, one day I'm going to start my own company. I'm going to start my own business. And instead of you starting your own business, you have gotten comfortable with being an employee in somebody else's business. You see, shrinking is when you say to yourself, you know what? One day I'm going to become debt-free. I'm going to become debt-free. But listen to this. Instead of you becoming debt-free, you have gotten comfortable with making minimum payments on a bunch of various credit cards. Listen, shrinking is when you say, one day I'm going to get married. I'm going to have a happy, fulfilling marriage. And you have gotten comfortable with just being somebody's friend with benefits, all right? Are you listening to me for a second? Listen to me carefully now. Shrinking is when you say to yourself, boy, I tell you, I'm going to build an empire. I'm going to build an empire one day. And now the only place that empire shows up in your life is on TV when you're sitting on that couch and you're watching somebody else's show called empire. And so what I'm saying to you is this. Listen carefully. It is time for you to stop shrinking. It is time for you to up level. It's time for you to level up, to take your game to the next level. And the reason why I say that is because of this. Listen carefully. Nobody rises to low expectations. That your life, listen carefully, because if you get this, it might change your life. Your life is a direct reflection of your expectations. Are you listening? So people say, well, what's the key? What's the key to living a bigger life? What's the key to taking my life to the next level? Well, the key to living a bigger life, the key to taking your life to the next level is to raise your expectations of yourself and the expectations of what you are going to do with your life. And so what happens is, unfortunately, most of us are still operating in some old, worn out, shrunken, beat down, low expectations. And I told you once, and I'm going to tell you again, let me break this down for you one more time. Nobody, you listen to me, nobody rises to low expectations. And so here's what I want you to do. This is what my assignment is for you. I want you to, right now, I want you to do this. I want you to look at your life right now and examine a place in your life where you are either dealing with a problem, a setback, or a place in your life where you are wanting to expand, where you're wanting to get to the next level. And in both of those areas where you're either dealing with a problem, and I know some of you right now, we probably got a even split. Some of you are listening to this message right now, and you're saying, Andy, I need this message. I got to hear this because, listen, I'm dealing with a problem. I'm at a level 7 in my life, but I'm facing a level 10 problem, just like you said. And some of you right now, you're saying, Andy, you know, I happen to be on an upswing in life. I'm not dealing with a major problem, but I still want more out of life. Now, regardless if you're dealing with a problem or if you just want more out of life, what I want you to do is I want you to examine both of those areas in your life. And now I want you to ask yourself the question. Now, you got to be honest. This is the only way it's going to work. I want you to ask yourself the question, where am I shrinking in my life? Where am I starting to have a shrinking conversation? Where am I starting to lower my expectations of myself? Where am I starting to dial down the things that I want for myself and in my life? And so what happens is I need you to realize it happens very subtly. You see, you start off and you want to have life at 10, and then life beats you up and then you turn the dial down to 9. And then life beats you up a little more, then you turn the dial down to 8. And life beats you up some more, then you turn the dial down to 6. And life beats you up some more, you turn the dial down to 5. And now you're living life at a level 5. And what I'm saying to you is that now it's time for you to go ahead and turn the dial back up. It's time for you to raise your expectations. It's time for you to raise the bar. It's time for you to understand that if you're operating at a level 7 and you got a level 10 problem, this is the time right now for you to expand. It's the time for you to grow. If you want to take your life to the next level, you want to write the book, you want to get out of debt, you want to have a happy, fulfilling marriage, a happy, fulfilling life, you want to make some great things happen, this is not the time to shrink. It is the time to expand. And so all I'm saying to you is this: you cannot shrink into your vision. You cannot shrink into your goal. You cannot shrink into making the great things happen in your life. And so this is your time to expand. Expand the dream, expand the vision, and expand what you want from yourself. So do me a quick favor. Do me a quick favor. Before I go ahead and let you go, do me a favor, because I know that there's somebody who needs to catch this replay. There's somebody that needs to hear this message because they've been shrinking in their life. There's something that they know that they've been wanting to do, that they've been meaning to do, and they just haven't done it. So do me a quick favor right now. Just go ahead and hit the share button, because I know that there's somebody who may not catch this live, but they'll catch it after the fact. And we're going to help some people to literally stop shrinking in their thinking, to stop shrinking in their life, and to help them to start expanding and taking their lives to the next level. So just do me that quick favor. Go ahead and hit the share button. And so one more time, here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at your life, identify a place in your life where you're either dealing with a problem. Let's say you're operating at a level 7 in your life and you have a level 10 problem. And I believe that when you're operating at a level 7 and life gives you a level 10 problem, it is an invitation for you to grow to a level 10. The people who are operating at high levels in life, they're normally people who have conquered big problems. They're normally people who've gone through some big trials, because oftentimes that is how you grow. It is not what you are going to, it is what you are growing to. Listen carefully, that is how you grow. If you're operating at a level 7, life hits you with a level 10 problem. It is an invitation for you to grow. It is an invitation for you to expand your mindset. It is an invitation for you to kick it up a notch. And then the other place is, I need you to realize, wherever your goals are, whatever your visions are, listen to me carefully. Life has this way of getting you to shrink real subtly. And what I'm saying to you is, this is your time now to expand the vision. This is the time for you to stop playing it small. And this is time for you to start turning the dial back up and start claiming back your territory. And all those things that you said that you wanted to do, and all those things that you've been meaning to do, what I'm saying is, let's kick it up a notch and let's get back to making those things happen. And one more time, let me remind you, you cannot shrink into your vision. And so if there's anything that you get from this message that I'm sharing with you, all I want you to do is, I want you to remember, you got to stop shrinking. And this is the time in your life that you need to level up. This is the time in your life that you need to raise the bar. This is the time in your life that you need to raise your expectations. And you say, well, why, Andy? Why do I need to raise the expectations? The reason why is because nobody, including you, nobody rises to low expectations. All right. Well, listen, I am so grateful. I'm so thankful that all of you decided to tune in and join me for the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. As you know, this is my way of contributing into your life, and maybe perhaps just sharing something with you that's going to allow you to continue to pursue your goals and your dreams, but most importantly, to help you to continue to show up. You know, Woody Allen has a quote that I love, and here's what he said. He said that 80% of success is simply showing up. And so I thank all of you that continue to show up and join me for the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream. And here's what I want you to do. If for some reason you and I are not yet connected, just go ahead and do me a favor. Head on over to andyhenriquez.com, andyhenriquez.com. When you get there, you'll see in the left-hand corner, you'll see a place where you can go ahead and get access to a past webinar training that I did. But it's just most importantly an opportunity for you and I to connect. So you can go ahead and put your name, email address there. And of course, you'll go ahead and have to verify your information. But that's going to allow me and you to continue to stay connected